Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Tryline. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that we are situated on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Musqueam Nation. Today, we're diving into another component of the rugby experience, that of the organization and club from a personal perspective. I can speak to how impactful a club's ethos and culture can impact a player, both on the positive and negative sides. So today, I'm going to introduce you to Graham Turner, who has been my coach for the past 3 years. And during this time, he has taken on roles of increasing responsibilities within the organization. Today, we will get an inside look from President UBCOB Ravens, Graham Turner, who will share with us insight on the landscape of rugby regionally, provincially, and nationally. So, you've been president for just over 2 years, Graham, and I know you've made some pretty exciting changes to the club. Most notably, of course, the introduction of the women's rugby team, which is awesome. Could you start off by sharing with us a little bit about like the motivation behind that initiative?
Well, first of all, Angus, thank you for having me on your esteemed program here.
Absolutely.
I love the interview with Zul Suleiman earlier this week. So big shoes to fill here.
Huge.
Uh, yeah, huge. Big stakes walking around. So I would say first and foremost, I think any club that isn't growing and evolving is probably trending in the opposite direction. And so for us, seeing the strength of the women's national team, who just announced their 2025 World Cup roster today, and seeing how many British Columbia athletes are going to the World Cup and have been so successful with the women's national team, it felt like a part of our club was kind of missing.
Mm.
And I think to not be able to take advantage of the success that they're having and really feel like we're supporting that success and we're able to buy into it and we're able to create a team and an organization and part of our club that really we can be proud of. And just down the road from us are the national champion UBC Thunderbirds, and they've been tremendously successful under the guidance of Dean Murden. And frankly, it felt like the right time as their club has higher ambitions and wants to continue to grow. We've been incredibly lucky to have Jake Teal as part of our club as a player and now the inaugural women's head coach. So it really just felt like, things were coming together and we really had the right pieces in place. And so this will be our first year in the Women's Premier League.
That's awesome. So, with this new club, with this new part of the club, sorry, are you looking to develop mainly, or is it kind of you're like going in there, going to try to win as many games as possible? Because I mean, you can take a new part of the club with like any way, any direction you really want to, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think winning is a culture, and you've been part of programs that have winning as a culture. And I think you benefited, personally, and seen others grow and benefit from that culture.
Hmm.
I think the success of our men's program and our junior program has really set the stage and the foundation for this new part of our club to hit the ground running. Would I consider a disappointment if they didn't win the championship at the end of the year? No, because this is our first time doing this. Do I think that the other foundational pieces in place are going to create an environment where winning is sort of the expectation? Yeah, I do, and I know Jake has high ambitions as well for that squad. And so it's my job just to figure out how we can best support winning outcomes and figure things out as we go.
For sure. So I really appreciate you talking about the women's side for a little bit there, but I was also just wondering a little bit, like I know the women's team is definitely gonna have a huge impact on the club, but in general, where do you think you've seen the most growth in the club and are going to see the most growth?
Yeah, great question. So part of the advantage of having a senior women's team is promoting the game for girls. I think that's been the area where across the province there's been the biggest challenge in getting girls to come out and play rugby, which is crazy when you compare it against the strength of the senior women's national team.
Hmm.
And so for us, I think I've seen the growth in two ways. Number one, from a junior perspective, we have a great executive team and a guy by the name of Gareth Brown, no relation to you, I don't think.
No.
No. But he launched a school outreach program last year. So we got over 1,000 kids playing rugby for the first time. We had coaches at Bing, at Churchill, among other schools, who we're able to facilitate rugby programs for schools that probably wouldn't have had
Mhm.
rugby programs. And so I think for us, it's a big investment in junior game, and especially among public schools in this city where there used to be a lot of strong programs, and now there's only a few.
Right.
So I think that's an incredibly big strategic opportunity for us.
Hmm.
And then the second component, I think, would be from a senior perspective. We're one of the clubs who have two teams competing in the senior leagues. Now we're adding a women's team. Um, there's probably opportunities down the line to add a third team for those players who are washed up like myself to maybe not have as strenuous a training schedule, but still want to play time and time again. Not me, because I'll definitely get injured. But I think there's opportunities there as well. And then the other piece is just the community, right? So all the stuff off the field, like your family's been a great supporter of the Ravens, and I could probably spend the rest of the episode naming others. But what sort of off the field activities are we doing? Are we able to run events? Last year was our 50th anniversary gala. And that type of community outreach, I think, is really important towards building that environment because they've been awesome at supporting us.
Yeah, definitely. And just like kind of going back on that outreach spot, I mean, remote rugby itself, we try to get as many people involved in rugby as possible, but it's not easy, right? It takes a lot of effort. And I think I've definitely experienced that kind of that outreach, like the attempt for an outreach, and sometimes it doesn't always land. But I mean, in your case, it's sounding like it's going really well, which is really great to hear. I know you kind of named a couple of those like key elements of what makes a club a really great spot, but I was also just wondering, like, kind of like how important tradition is to a rugby club in order of making people feel involved and a part of a strong community.
Well, I'll turn the question back on you for a second. How much do you feel like tradition has played a part in your experience with the Ravens?
I'd say it's a pretty large part of it. A lot of like, I just feel like, the start, of course, we have preseason, we all run up the same hill every single year, same hill that the guys before you have ran up. We go do bear crawls in the sand, the same sand that the guys before you did bear crawls in. And then like as well, like, you got the videos before the game. I mean, that's before the last game, like that's pretty classic. I mean, there's countless, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think tradition is as important as you make it. And it's changed over time. I mean, you probably rubbed elbows with a couple of the old guys who probably used to play, back in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
and they had their own traditions. And I think, probably some are not fit for broadcast and some might
Yeah.
be. Uh, but I think each program has their own traditions. So you mentioned a couple for the under 18s, and you don't want to stay stuck. You don't want to stay stuck in the past and just continue to do things for the sake of doing things because that's the way they've
Absolutely.
always been done.
Yeah.
So I think evolution is really important off the back of that. So, we did film a certain way. I think there's opportunity to improve that.
Mhm.
We have done off-field stuff in a certain way. I think there's probably better ways that we can do that moving forward. So you kind of want to take stock of how things have been done in the past, what the benefits from them was. It sounds like a couple of those things really landed with you, but how can we continue to get better? How can we continue to evolve? I always want to be proud. I always want the guys to be proud and women now. Anytime they pull on their jersey, be proud to be a Raven. But I think that's going to mean a little bit something different for everybody.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you providing that insight um, about evolution as well. And then as well, like a lot of the guys right now, they're in Calgary playing rugby for BC Rugby, and the Canadian men's team was just playing earlier this week. So, could you just take us a little bit through about like kind of your perspective on the whole landscape of Canada Rugby, BC Rugby, and just regionally here, kind of your overall perspective on it?
I mean, it's a broad question, so I'll do
Yeah.
my absolute best to answer that. Look, I won't bury the lead. So Canada right now, the national senior men's team is 25th in the world, unless my math is wrong. That's the lowest ranking that the men's team has ever. So that's the macro view of the Canadian landscape. I think that you can only control what you can control. So for us, over the last few years, we've had the highest number of age grade representatives in
Mhm.
for the PRCs, for like the BC level, and then also the Canadian under 18, which that's now defined by the Canadian under 20 level.
Right.
And that's something I'm incredibly proud of. Don Carson got selected to the national senior men's team this year, which is great.
Yeah.
We've had a number of guys play on the national sevens team, Jack Carson, Ben Greenstein, so on and so forth. And so I think for us, the goal is how can we produce the best players possible to set you guys up for opportunities down the line. I have no involvement with Rugby Canada. I have been a BC coach before. I'm not right now. But for us, when we see so many guys get selected for teams, I feel like we're doing something right. And it's not done in a vacuum. Like St. George's produces a lot of athletes. Tupper has had a couple guys come through. Kids has had a couple guys come through over the years.
Yeah.
So all that to say, when I talk about the Canadian rugby landscape or when I think about it, frankly, I boil it down to the Ravens and what we're doing and how can we do the best job possible for us. And then hopefully down the line, that gives you guys bigger opportunities at the national level, at the provincial level. But it starts with us. And so that's what we're laser focused on.
Definitely true. Yeah. And so just in general, like I just wanted to say a big thank you for sharing us with some of your thoughts and you're just such a knowledgeable guy in BC rugby and just Canadian rugby and all. So I just want to thank you for your time. And when I just started out the introduction here, I introduced you as a president and a coach, but you're more than that. You're a mentor and a friend. So I just want to say a huge thank you to you for everything you've done. And I really appreciate you hopping on this call.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Before we end this episode of Beyond the Tryline, do you
Yes,
mind if I ask you a couple questions?
absolutely. Please do. Shoot.
All right. Angus, you are the third round to come through the Ravens program so far. Where would you say you rank in that hierarchy of all four?
Uh, so I think I might be a bit biased, but I'm going to take the chip there. I think I'm going to put myself at one. I just think,
Okay.
I think, Sam, Matthew, they did their thing. James,
Yeah.
we'll see. Who knows? He's got time. In a good way or bad way, I don't know. Like, haven't figured that one out yet. But I'd say I just think I've been with the Ravens for longer than they have. I mean, I've been a Raven since I was, geez, like maybe 8 years old. Maybe like yeah, probably around 8 years old. I remember always going out to the jamborees every Sunday, and I've been with the Ravens for over 10 years now, which is like it's a full on decade. So I'd put myself over my two older brothers for that. Yeah.
All right. Last question here, and I'll let you
Yes.
go. You being with the Ravens U18, this will be your fourth year, which I think is a record. You ran touch for us 3 years ago
Yeah.
when we played in Langford the first time. If you had to choose, I know this is a tough question. If you had to choose, who do you think is the best Raven U18 of all time?
Wow. Um,
You can answer this any way you want.
okay. So I'm gonna have to say best U18 Raven of all time.
You're gonna make one friend and you're making a lot of enemies.
I know
Go on.
exactly. That's the problem. Sam Brown. I'm calling it.
Oh, that's such a cop out. That's such a cop out.
No,
Keep it in the family. But you ranked you ahead of him. How does that work? Surely then you'd be the best Raven of all
U18
time.
U18 Raven. I'm
Yeah,
saying
U18
I'm the
Raven.
number one Raven.
Oh, like lifetime award.
Lifetime Raven in the Brown hat family. I'm number one. I'll give Sam Raven U18 just because I'm not gonna lie, I saw some pretty crazy clips. Like if you look on
Yeah.
the remote rugby history, he like chips it over I mean, he chips it over everybody, grabs it, just like does like laps. I don't know. He looked like when in my imagination, I was like in grade 8. I was looking at Sam playing U18 Ravens. I was like, oh my God, this guy's a stud. So
You'll listen to this say, all right,
yeah.
I won't make yourself anymore, I guess.
Anyways, thank you so much for hopping on and sharing with us. I really do appreciate it, and I think people are gonna get a lot from this interview. A lot of good stuff here. So I just want to thank you again.
Hopefully. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Thanks so much.